So Chen Chow, welcome again to our
thanks a
show
lot.
today.
Thanks a lot for inviting. Good evening, everyone.
How are you feeling today?
Good. A bit nervous because I'm recording.
Well, no worries, because I think being who you are, you are going to be natural at this, as I can see.
Will try my best.
All right. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, before Fave, a little bit of your journey, your personal journey.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I just call me Sisi. So I came from Penang State, a small town called Nibong Tebal. And I went through high school in Bukit Mentajam, SMJK Jitsin. After finished high school, I actually went to Singapore at Raffles Junior College for my pre-U for a few months. And after that, Malaysian government called me back. So I went to University Technology Mara to do a 1-year preparatory program. And I was lucky enough to got the GPA scholarship. So I went to US to study at Cornell University. So that was my first flight of my life. So at the age of 20, never took a plane before. Never thought that I would ever take a plane. I actually took a flight before my parents took a flight. And it was definitely a moment for me. And I still remember, thought that, okay, now exciting, get to go to study. And when I got to university on day 2, they had an English test. And out of 3,000 new students, 8 students were chosen as the best terbalik from behind. There are people from China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, and I have to leave Malaysia Boleh spirit. So I was one of the 8. So that was how I started my uni, being known that, okay, you are the special 8 who needs special attention in English. And I still remember back then, like, semi-homesick and whatnot, and my professor's job is to get us to write 6 pages in English on anything. I can be completely broken, and the tough part is after that, every week I have to go see the professor and have 1 hour session talking about what I wrote. And then she'll correct. So basically, it's a customized lesson. But I think that gave me a bit of building through. I still remember when I first year went there, whatever the professor taught, I hardly understand. I thought I understand English, but I only know how to take SPM exam. So, and I think back then in high school here, speaking English a lot of times in school was seen as showing off. Right. So no one really talked on it. So I think that was how I started. After I graduated, I got a place at Stanford University for my master's, but unfortunately, I couldn't get any funding. So I actually came back to Malaysia, trying to get funding, couldn't get it. So I never went back for any master's. So I joined Accenture in the management consulting, so at the CRM project. And I was lucky in Accenture that back then, a few people in my team today formed the core of the team that built Grab. So 3 of my peers who were joined at the same time, sitting in the same room as me, they actually are 3 of the GMs at Grab, and they joined Anthony at the early days and see them build through one of the most iconic Malaysian startups. And so it's very interesting to seeing them from the early days and what they have built upon. And from Accenture, I went to JobStreet in 2008. So JobStreet in a way is a startup, but when I joined them, it's already 11 years old. And I think I was attracted by how the founders and them, they're all very super simple. Like some of you may know some of the JobStreet founders, Mark, Suresh, they all, like very down to earth, simple people. And basically learn from them for a few years. I started first year was doing take care of student segment. So I went to campus to give talks to students, how to write resume, how to prepare for interview. So get to make me feel a bit younger at the time. And then the second phase was try to build a startup within JobStreet with the founder. So because JobStreet is an employer paid model. That time we were experimenting on whether a job seeker paid model works. And then my last part of it in JobStreet was building the HR tool, Siva, that is used by most HR in the region. And any of you have applied job on JobStreet before? Right, so not sure if you take the JobStreet English language assessment as English test. Yeah, so that test was created by me.
Oh, so you got a long way.
Yeah, so back then we were creating a test to standardize. So basically you take the test, you get a 40-point score. After you took the test, we tell you your English is better than how many % of people in each aspect. Yeah, so that was what created. And interestingly, the test that was created got 2.5 million people also have taken it.
Awesome.
So fast forward from there, I went to Groupon, and it was quite coincidental. So when Joel knew and sold Group Small to Groupon, those days still SMS, so I SMS him, congratulations. And then about 10 days later or so, after he successfully sold it, he went to go orientation. he sent me a Facebook message during Chinese New Year at 3 in the morning and said, hey, free for supper. So I thought, okay lah, this guy, I knew of him, he doesn't know much of me, but you want to have supper, so let's have a supper. So I went in t-shirt, shorts, and slippers, thinking that it's a supper. That turned out to be my job interview. And he told me that I should do sales, inside sales, telesales at that time. Then I still remember my job street, my COO told me that one day I should learn sales. So I agreed to join him, Joel, to do sales. Unfortunately, I got a 2-month notice period. By the time I joined, there's no more sales role. So when I went in there, it was just doing random stuff. And 3 weeks later, Joel said, okay, why don't you run the operations? So that was how I moved on to never manage anyone to now managing 30, 40 people. And then over the next few months became a few hundred people kind of companies. So we did Malaysia for a while, about 6, 7 months. One fine day, Oliver Samwer. So Oliver Samwer, this guy, many people may not have heard of him, but he is the father of internet for Southeast Asia in a way. So Groupon was built by him, Lazada, Zalora, Foodpanda, Easy Taxi, Traveloka, and many others, where he has a hand to build many of these startups. So it's very interesting that, so he called up Joel and said, hey, the top 4 people in Taiwan is no longer going to be there. Will you be able to go to Taiwan to run it? And Joel said yes, even though he doesn't understand Mandarin. And he called me 2 a.m. while I was sleeping. I said, okay. So the next day we went. And back then the mandate from the global was go to Taiwan. If Taiwan business don't pick up, you're on next flight back. If Malaysia decline, you're on next flight back. We don't know, we got 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, we went over there. Lucky enough, I think it was the first time we went over there, seen the 250 staff, and we're losing about $1 million a month. Lucky enough, 6 months later, we managed to turn it to $8,000 profit. Good news is we did the turnaround. Bad news is global found out, okay, the next day, we got called out of Taiwan and said, now you guys take care of Southeast Asia, India. We had no succession plan or anything. So that was turned out to be one of the lessons that we learned along the way, that think of succession as you fix the business. Went through Southeast Asia, India, we did it for 6 months. After that, Japan, Korea, before eventually, in middle of 2013, we got to take care of Asia. So it was a $1.6 billion business, 3,000 staff, 50 offices, 12 countries. So for 2 young guys, that was an interesting experience, get to play around with the decent field and trying to learn along the way. And after 2 years in 2015, we decided that, you guys know YOLO? You only live once? Yeah, so that was like, okay lah, maybe YOLO moment, so we decided to quit and say, let's try to build something. Didn't dare to tell parents because if you tell them, they'll say no. Why you don't want to get salary and move to get a 0 salary and try to add so much stress in life, right?
Right.
So went on that. Like, we started K-Fit. I know K-Fit and me doesn't jive. I'm more K-Fat. But we had a 1-year non-compete against Groupon, so we're like, okay, many things we can't do. Fitness is something that unfortunately we can do. So went on it, did it for a while. And after 1-year non-compete ends, last year Q2, we decided that, okay, now let's expand, try beauty wellness. Q3, we put on F&B. And last year Q3 onwards also, we tried to learn how to buy companies. So first was Groupon initially got a chance to buy because we were not there and Groupon wanted to look for potential buyers. So we took it on. Within 3 months, we doubled the business. Then they said, hey, do you want Malaysia? So then we took on Groupon Malaysia. So Groupon Malaysia, I would say that it's maybe half sentimental and half logical. I mean, half because we were building it up. And we imagining someone else owning it and then competing it. Or the other one is no one want it and then they shut it down. So we took it on. And it was a tough journey trying to, so when initially we were not initial, so bought it, it was on its own. So it's easier to run. Malaysia now we have our own team and there's Groupon team. How do we integrate, merge culture and everything? And after that, we did the same thing with Groupon Singapore in Q1. And we tell ourselves that we need to fully migrate, rebranded, move all the system, process, tools, everything into our own tools. So by May this year, everything will cross over. So 2 months after Singapore acquisition, we moved fully into our own brand, Fave, a new young brands out in the market. So since the last few months, we've built from Fave, and then we built Fave Pay. I think we'll talk about it later. Yeah.
And is that the one that you call a go fast, go crazy philosophy?
Go fast, go, yeah. I think a lot of those like just trial error. I think a lot of time is, what's the worst case? Worst case, we fail. And I think a lot of time is try, go with your best shot at it. I think that's how I would look at it.
Right. And speaking to our entrepreneurs today, what are some of these lessons that you learn from this Go Fast, Go Crazy? What are some of the lessons that you actually learn from implementing this philosophy?
Yeah, so I think speed, I think for us, being a small fish, we like to call ourselves small fish, and hopefully we are a fast fish, right? So, and because a lot of time opportunity won't come to a small player like us, right? Let's say, example, the partnership with Alipay, right? There are a lot of big boys partnering with them. Small boys like us will not get the chance to go on it. And the only way we got it is because speed, right? So we got the whole partnership within 6 days, including PR release and everything. And in the typical companies, if you try to make appointment, that usually takes 6 days. And that was how long it took for us to negotiate the whole agreement, PR release, and everything, right? So I think that was what our age, and that was what we need to harness on. And since then, since we launched Fave Pay in July, right now about 2,000 brands have moved their loyalty program to us, right? So I think that was what, being a small player, how do we be nimble? How do we be speed and go on it? I think one of the things we thought in office is if one day nothing breaks, that's time to worry.
Yeah.
I think if tomorrow Joe go to office and see everything smooth, he will call an emergency meeting. It's like something is wrong, right? Because that means we're not trying to grow fast enough. So I think it is, and a lot of time is celebrating mistakes, celebrating failures, and letting the team know that it is perfectly fine to make mistakes. So example, like in Singapore, we got one intern join. In the first hour, made a mistake in promo code and cost us 13,000 Sing dollar losses. First hour of an internship, right?
Expensive intern.
Yes, but what there's a great way is that the person admit mistakes. So we actually use the opportunity to tell everyone that this is a role model. This person could have just hide it. The fact that the person dare to speak up, the person dare to admit that it is me that made mistake, that is something worth celebrating. That is a big lesson for everyone to learn. That it's perfectly fine. Admit it, and we learn together. If the person, so the way a lot of time we look at it is, what is the intention of that person making this thing? If the person genuinely has a right intention, make a genuine mistakes, that's perfectly fine. Of course, don't make the same thing a few times. But if the person came with a bad intention, even though it's a very small mistakes, we will have zero tolerance on that. And I think that's how a lot of time we go by. A lot of time is go back to the heart. I want a poster in office, bring your heart to work, not just your brain. Because a lot of times when you're not sure, when I task the team, let's say customer happiness, when the customer asks for a refund, the principles that our team use is, imagine that you are the customer. If you think you deserve a refund, give that refund. If you think that you are the customer and you don't deserve that refund, don't give that refund. So I think it's put it in human touch, human feeling thinking. That's the best way to go about.
And in order to cultivate this culture, I would guess that also a lot of us here struggle with the number one, recruitment process. How do we hire people with the heart, right? Because at the end of the day, we are looking for results. We want to get people who are competent, is usually the right word. How would you advise our audience today on that? You know, how do you recruit the right people? How do you know they have the heart to fit into the culture that you want to build?
Yeah, so I think it's no perfect answer as well. I think a lot of time is be very genuine in the interview. And I think during the session and a lot of reference checks and whatnot, and I think it's be very honest. Let's say example for Fave. As a company, if you're looking for a 9 to 6 job, this is a bad job for you. If you're looking for a very steady corporate career ladder, this is a very bad job for you. Because I can't promise you any career ladder. We don't have career ladder, right? So I think so the way we go to it is be very truthful to people and let the brand goes around to people and say, this is how we believe in, right? So the team works crazily hard. At midnight, if things break, you fix it, right? We fix it, and all those things. So I think it's the belief system into each person, that doing it at any hour, any time, like the fighting spirit together. So I think for a lot of people that we want them is like, if you want to look at one day, you want to start your own company, you want to really go out there using the fastest learning curve, don't mind suffer through crazy time, crazy hardship, this is a good playground for you. If you want a good life, and there's nothing wrong with it, you want a good pay, you want those things, this is not the place for you. And I think and for every company and for us as well, the goal is to find the right match. Right, just like dating. In the end, you are not trying to find 100 people with, right? It's finding the right match for each role. and a lot of time we go start with DNA. What kind of people would be? And then we started talking to a couple and then see, is that the right DNA, not the right DNA? And not always we'll find the right mesh, but I think it's going with that and hope both ways will be super transparent and be very aligned. Because to us, culture comes first instead of hard skills. Hard skills can be trained and learned much easier. But the culture part, do you fit? Because in office, there's no room for anyone, right? If Joel tomorrow comes late to office, he find his own desk. He has no place. He sit on a beanbag or on the floor, right? That's how we operate, right? And people go to office in any attire. Like, go turn up in t-shirt, shorts, and slippers in office is perfectly fine. A lot of people did that in office, right? And so that kind of culture, we do culture like, let's say in any meetings, if you think that meetings is not useful, everyone is empowered to walk out of any meeting, right? So that kind of culture where, and anyone, no matter who asks it, could be Joel ask it or any one of us asks the person, if you don't think that's what you need to do, you don't do. And you're perfectly fine not to obey, right? So we actually orientate people that say it is perfectly okay not to do that and give the room to think on it and celebrate that.
So you have actually a culture where you encourage mistakes, but mistakes that should not be repeated, the same mistake all the time, all right? People who stand up and speak their mind, people who go with a passion, I hear that. Now, talk us through Joel and yourself, you know. I understand that he's different in personality, in styles, and that sometimes that's what happens with co-founders, right? When you have two different people trying to have the same culture, trying to bring up the company, but you may have different styles and different ways of doing things. So can you talk us through how you complement each other in that?
So I think Joel is a public figure, so I think more people have known him. I think most people, so I think basically he's a charming, charismatic.
Oh,
basically,
you are too.
I'm not. Right, so he'll be out there, he basically be able to present and sell the future, big picture, visions, and everything. So I think he will be the direction, the big picture, inspire people and let people see the big picture, whether internally to the team or externally to investors, press, stakeholders, partners, everything. So I think he generally do that, right? And he's a huge risk taker. And I'm the complete opposite, right? The boring person playing with numbers. Like I think in numbers, like every parts of it is basically structured in play in numbers. So if anything makes sense, is thinking in that way only. So if I talk about how customers are happy, it's average customer rating, right? If it goes up means great, goes down means bad, right? How long whether customer are fast, happy with the pickup of the phone call is how many seconds it is like get pick up. And so basically I think in that way, detail. So let's say example when we bought Groupon. So Joel's job is to charm them and they say, I will sell to you. So he get them to until I do. And for me, it's then I took it all the way till the customers, merchants, customers all move to now the new platform. The same thing when fundraising, go raise money. So Joel's job is to charm people until they say, okay, I'll give you money to invest in you. And once they verbally said invest in you, to Joel is done. Then my job is to take that, work through the whole agreement, documents, negotiate through the fine prints until the money is really into the bank. So the way we have things that he likes to do, I'm not good at and I can't do better, and vice versa. So I think a lot of time we don't fight for the same thing. So we don't attend meeting together. So a lot of time people say, okay, can both of you attend? The answer is likelihood no, right? And sometimes people get offended, it's like, why can't both? But that's how, because we try to do separate so that we can double the coverage through. So I think that's sort of how it, but I think underlying is a strong trust, right? And both of us operate very differently. Each of us have our own strength and own gaps. There are things that each of us frustrate each other. And it's just perfectly fine to know that we are doing that way. He knows how I think of and I know how he think of, and we'll just do it. And if one of the things that I'm really passionate about, even he disagree, I'll do it, and vice versa. And I think in the end, it's towards the same goal.
So how does it work for strategy? Because it requires both the passion and the charming and the big picture, as well as the details and the numbers and the logical side of things. How does it, talk about Fave's strategy? How do you come up with the strategy, and how do we, look out for the right triggers on how to craft our strategy? Yeah.
So I think we are not that strategic person. I think like people, so I think for us, I think Joel basically sell the big picture. So I think like in terms of mission-wise, help local businesses or offline businesses succeed, right? How do we help the businesses that currently today not online to bring them on board online and take benefits of online? So I think that's where our key mission from the businesses side. And the consumer side is two parts: eat well, live well, eat better, live better, and also delight people every day. How do we do this? And I think for the big picture parts, okay, I can say almost all is Joe. So usually is Joe will draft it. He will do Amazon style, write a few 5-7 pages, and he will basically get all the new parts. And for me, it's going through the line and then right-click comment and put a bunch of commenting, and then eventually that will get formed. So the way we do a lot of time come out with a document on where to put forward is basically someone will draft it and everyone is commenting it. At the end of it, that will become a document that everyone go through, and it's a what we call it working document. The document I keep on leave and tweak around for it. And let's say for me, when I run the business, the numbers wise, how I compare is always every day from midnight. Let's say right now it's 7 p.m. So midnight to 7 p.m. How is today versus yesterday versus last week? That's the only thing that I care about. If today you are growing better than yesterday and better than last week, great job. If you do worse than yesterday, worse than last week, you're in trouble. And the team knows exactly that was how I look at. I don't care about what's the target next month. I don't care about what was it last week, last month, 4 days ago. It's just every day need to be better than yesterday and last week same day. Very simple principle. Every single one knows that exactly. If you can consistently do better than yesterday, even 1% a day, you will do a pretty good growth. Right? So I think that was how keep on building from there and pushing the teams to think through the boundaries.
I like how you are very focused on the today versus yesterday, because I think that tells us how much we have progressed. But I just like to throw you a little bit of a curveball here. So what is happening in the future, right? Let's talk about Alibaba's play into your space.
Yes.
What do you see that's coming up in the future? Because that one that's starting to compare to backwards is really forward. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times we underestimate the potential of the big picture, futures, and we a lot of time overestimate what we can do in the short run, right? And I think the way we look at it is today. If you look at online world, I will look at 4 different industry. One is travel. Travel today, a lot of things that we do on travels are already online. We book on AirAsia, we book our hotels on Agoda and whatnot. Even some corporate travels are now starting to book online. The second part of it is physical products. Physical products, before that you go to hypermarkets, shopping malls, departmental store to buy. Today you start buying from Lazada, Shopee, and all those, Taobao or whatnot, right? And the third one is transportation. You used to drive, and today some people take Grab, Uber, MRTs and whatnot. And the fourth part, the most one, that if you compare these 4 sectors, the fourth one that is biggest is F&B, beauties, services and everything. Even take F&B. F&B spend is significantly bigger than any of those. How much money you spend a year on travel for holidays? How much money you spend a year on buying physical product, your clothes, your wardrobe, your cupboards and whatnot, right? How much money you spend on transportation versus how much money you spend on F&B. Today, that space is hardly anything online. Nothing, close to nothing. Like let's say maybe a question here, right? How many of you in the last 1 week have used any form of apps, any form of mobile to pay for your food or discover your food?
Anybody here?
No one. Past 1 week, right?
Just one person.
One person, right?
Yeah.
But if you think of it, everyone spent money on F&B last week or today, right? That amount today, all of us added up. You can add Alipay and everything. It's less than 1% of the market. In the end, it's not about competitor. In the end, is how our biggest competitor is changing mindset of consumer. A person that going good likelihood to use Alipay or any other pay will have a much higher likelihood of using FavePay than anyone that don't use any form of technology. And I think that's where, and we are going to be one of the only one that not going to build our own wallet. So we actually declare out and say we are not building our own wallet. We are going to be providing a use case for wallet. So basically, like if you look at the banks, most top banks has a wallet. Most telco has a wallet. Grab has their wallet, like Alipay, WeChat Pay. Everyone has a wallet. So for us, we'll be enabler to provide. So let's say today you swipe at a restaurant for Alipay. That transaction actually went through us. We actually powered that part for Alipay. Right, so that's a play that we will be invisible, and going there. And I think we actually declared to all the telco banks and whatnot and say, for your payment, we are willing to take any of the payment into our end and bring the consumer use case. The only thing is we don't want any exclusivity, which means that we are open to partner with as many banks, as many telcos. And in this play, eventually is if there is a one dominant wallet that win the game, we might be irrelevant. If the chase is going to be multiple companies playing the game, hopefully we'll have a good role to play. Right? Because all the big e-commerce cannot do the same way. Because let's say Lazada, they are owned by Alibaba. Alibaba has Alipay. Shopee, owned by Garena, they have their own AirPass. Every one of them, Grab, they have their GrabPay. All of them, the big player, all have their own wallet, which means that they cannot go around and work with all other wallets. So we don't have any wallet associated to us, which means that we can work with all others. I don't know whether this strategy would work or not, but that's the only way. I don't have the billions that everyone else has. All the bank has billions. All the telco has billions. Grab, Alipay, and WeChat Pay has billions. We don't have. We have nowhere near anywhere. We don't even have 1% of the money they have. And we have to play, it's like the Sun Tzu art of war. We only have to play the where we think we have a chance to win. Playing against exactly where they play, we will be dead.
So CC, it's almost talking about collaboration. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Going with a change mindset into a world whereby collaboration is key, whereby let's not just own the wallet space, what you're saying, but instead let's work with other people. Is that pretty much kind of your advice?
Yeah. For us in this situation, right, I think in the end, every situation will call for slightly different. But I think for us is as we assess to it, that is the only survival way. That's the only way. And I think the way we think about it, if one day we can even capture 1% of F&B meal. Let's say take Klang Valley. Klang Valley has 7 million population. Right? Almost everyone, let's say you only spend 10 ringgit. That's 70 million ringgit. If we capture 1%, that's 700,000 ringgit a day. That's 20 million business in KL a month. If we can capture 1%, and that's assuming everyone only spend 10 ringgit a day. Right? And that assumption is both is multiplies of that. So I think the question, the potential is huge. The question is who can win the war? And if more players coming in and educate the market, can all these players added up can change everyone's mindset here. One day you said, you don't need to bring your wallet. You use your phone to pay for everything. If that day happens, I think there's enough pie for everyone. But the challenge is, can that day happen? How can we all do to get that day to happen? And it's a one by one process at a time. Let's say for even businesses. Like recently, we just signed up the 2 durian place, the SS2 durian and Durian King.
Right.
So both of are on Fave Pay. And we're actually organizing a durian eating competition this Saturday. We launched it yesterday. 100 people signed up within a few hours to take part in eating competition. So a lot of times we have to play flanking. And a lot of times signing up durian operator into payment was a very interesting play because most of them think in cash. Durian operator operate in cash. How do you get them, convince them to move to online? And so that's some of the thinking that they go through.
Right. So it looks like the future is here today. Even durian, we can use Fave Play to purchase durian. Musang King is in season right now, I heard. Yeah. So if today, if we walk away today, if nothing else we can remember from this session, what would one thing that you want all of us here to remember to take away?
Yeah.
What is your advice?
Yeah, I think is that in whatever business that you do, I think try to understand what problem you are solving. What problem you are really solving. In the end, the voting machine is not anyone else but your customers or your partners, your suppliers. If you create value, solve their problems, create values, you are relevant. If you don't solve their problems, don't create value, you are irrelevant. In the end, as we go on display, in the end is do businesses found value in Fave or Fave Pay. Whether can we help and the way we look at it is, let's say a cafe or restaurants, can we help them to grow their sales? Can we help them to bring more new customers? Can we help them to retarget the old customers? Can we help them to bring back the customers to come back more frequently? If we could do this, then we have something in that. If we can't do that, we are irrelevant. And vice versa to customers. Today, let's say in terms of bringing people to go eat and earn cash back for next visit, which is our Fave Pay proposition, would customer prefer to pay cash on themselves directly? Would they prefer to give a credit card? or would they prefer to use us? And the only way to vote is there are millions of, so the only difference is, let's say in general election, you only get voted once in 5 years. This is get voted every time you spend money. Every time you spend money, which way you're going to use to pay your meal. And if we can win a much, much faster market share in that play, in that whole pay, then we are relevant. If no one should think that this is what they need and use, then we are irrelevant.
Right, so the takeaway is being relevant by creating value, by making sure that you know what is the problem that you're trying to solve with the customer, and the customer will speak. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chen Chow, for this time here. And we'd like to thank the audience for being here too. Thank you.